Ever wondered why we keep falling into the same traps, making the same mistakes, and feeling frustrated by choices that seem obvious in hindsight? It's not laziness, lack of intelligence, or bad luck. The truth is far more fascinating. Our brains are wired to take shortcuts, to simplify the endless flood of information we encounter every second, and to make decisions fast so we can survive. These shortcuts, which psychologists call cognitive biases, are invisible forces that guide our thinking, often without us realizing it. They help us react quickly in emergencies, but they also distort our judgment in daily life. They affect how we spend money, how we manage our health, how we evaluate people, and even how we interpret the smallest events in our day-to-day routines. One of the most subtle yet pervasive biases is confirmation bias. This is the tendency to notice, remember, and give weight only to information that confirms what we already believe, while dismissing or ignoring anything that challenges our assumptions. It's like walking through life wearing mental blinders. We only see the pieces of the world that fit our pre-existing story. For example, imagine someone who is convinced that a particular investment is a guaranteed winner. They come across 3 articles online, 2 praise the investment and 1 warns about risks. Which do they remember? Usually, the positive ones. The warning fades into the background, mentally discarded as irrelevant. Over time, this selective attention and memory creates a feedback loop. The more we focus on information that supports our beliefs, the stronger those beliefs become, even when they're objectively wrong. Confirmation bias doesn't just affect finance. It colors relationships, career decisions, and even trivial choices. Imagine thinking a coworker is lazy. You notice every minor mistake they make, but you completely overlook the times they've gone above and beyond. Your brain constructs a narrative that the coworker is incompetent, and suddenly, every interaction feels like confirmation of that belief. The more we allow these biases to operate unchecked, the more distorted our perception of reality becomes. A friend of mine once became obsessed with a new health supplement, convinced it would transform their body in a few weeks. Every Instagram post, every social media testimonial that claimed success reinforced their belief. Meanwhile, scientific studies that showed no significant effect were ignored or rationalized away. By the end of months, they were following routines and spending money on products that offered no benefit, all because their brain filtered out the evidence that contradicted their expectations. Confirmation bias is subtle, silent, and powerful, shaping decisions in ways most people never notice. This bias also extends to politics and social behavior. People tend to consume media and content that aligns with their existing beliefs, avoiding information that might challenge them. Social media algorithms exacerbate this by showing us content we already agree with, creating echo chambers that reinforce opinions without exposing us to alternative perspectives. Over time, this makes us more rigid, more polarized, and more confident that our view of the world is the only correct one, even in the face of contrary evidence. Recognizing confirmation bias is the first step toward breaking the mental loops that keep us trapped in distorted realities. Closely related to this is anchoring, another mental shortcut that silently shapes our decisions. Anchoring occurs when the first piece of information we encounter about something acts as a reference point for all subsequent judgments. Imagine seeing a jacket priced at $500 and then seeing it again for $300. Suddenly, $300 seems like an amazing deal, even if it is still overpriced. The brain has been anchored to that initial number, and every evaluation afterward is subconsciously measured against it. Anchoring is incredibly common in negotiations. If someone throws out a starting price in a salary discussion, that number anchors the entire conversation. Even if your market value is different, the anchor pulls all subsequent offers toward it. People rarely realize how much their first exposure to information influences their judgment. I've seen friends buy used cars after a dealer starts with a high number. When the price drops slightly, it feels like a bargain, even if the final number is still above market value. Anchoring also shows up in everyday purchases, from menus at restaurants to electronics pricing. Companies use this bias strategically, placing a high-priced item first so that all other items seem cheaper by comparison. Loss aversion is another bias that quietly manipulates our decisions. This is the tendency to feel the pain of losing much more intensely than the pleasure of gaining. Psychologists have measured that losing $100 feels almost twice as bad as gaining $100 feels good. This is why many people avoid risks, even when the potential rewards outweigh the losses. In investing, for example, people often hold onto losing stocks far too long, afraid to sell and realize a loss. Meanwhile, they might sell winning stocks too early, trying to lock in gains that are already relatively small. Loss aversion also explains why people stay in careers they hate, continue ineffective health routines, or refuse to try new strategies in business. The fear of losing is stronger than the potential benefit of taking calculated risks, and it keeps people trapped in situations that are detrimental to their growth. I once knew someone who avoided changing careers for years. They were unhappy, underpaid, and constantly stressed, yet the idea of leaving their current paycheck felt like risking everything. This fear of loss kept them stuck far longer than was necessary. Loss aversion also explains procrastination, reluctance to invest in oneself, and a wide range of human behaviors that seem irrational from the outside. By recognizing when fear of loss is dictating choices, we gain the freedom to take smarter, more strategic risks. Overconfidence is another trap that affects nearly everyone at some point. Overconfidence occurs when we overestimate our knowledge, skills, or control over events. Investors believe they can consistently beat the market without research. Drivers overestimate their ability to handle dangerous situations on the road. Students think they can cram for exams at the last minute and still perform exceptionally. I knew a friend who started a business without proper planning because they thought they could figure it out as they went. Months later, reality hit hard. They had underestimated competition, miscalculated costs, and overestimated demand. Overconfidence can lead to mistakes that feel catastrophic, but they are often preventable with humility and reflection. Recognizing overconfidence is essential for making smarter decisions in every area of life. Overconfidence doesn't mean believing in yourself blindly. It's the gap between what you think you know and what you actually know. It shows up when people underestimate challenges, overestimate their abilities, or assume they can control outcomes that are uncertain. For example, someone might believe they can finish a complex project in a fraction of the time required simply because they have done something similar before, ignoring unexpected complications. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains why beginners often overestimate their competence. When we are new to a skill, we don't yet understand its depth or complexity, so we feel more capable than we really are. This overestimation can lead to mistakes, wasted time, and poor decisions. Over time, as experience grows, we begin to see the true challenges and adjust our confidence more accurately. Early awareness of this tendency helps prevent costly errors in work, finance, and personal growth. Availability bias also subtly distorts how we evaluate risks and make decisions. Our brains give more weight to dramatic, vivid, or recent events, even if they are statistically rare. For instance, hearing about a friend's rare investment failure can make us overestimate the likelihood of similar loss, while ignoring many successful cases. This bias can affect investments, health choices, and even how we perceive danger in daily life. The key to countering it is relying on data, research, and patterns, rather than memorable anecdotes alone. Social proof is another powerful influence. Humans instinctively follow the crowd, assuming that if many people are doing something, it must be correct. This explains why viral trends, popular diets, or hot investment tips can spread quickly. The problem arises when decisions are made based on popularity rather than logic or personal fit. In finance, herd mentality can inflate bubbles, and in everyday life, it can lead to impulsive spending, poor career choices, or following trends that don't suit your goals. Pausing to evaluate independently helps resist this invisible pressure. Sunk cost fallacy interacts with loss aversion, leading people to persist in unproductive projects, failing businesses, or unhealthy relationships simply because they've invested time, money, or effort. Many of us continue spending resources on things that no longer serve us, feeling that abandoning them would waste everything we've invested. Recognizing sunk costs allows us to make decisions based on current and future value, freeing ourselves to pursue better opportunities. Framing effects manipulate decisions based on how information is presented. A medical procedure described as 90% successful feels more reassuring than one described as 10% failure, though both statements are the same. Marketers, media, and advertisers exploit this bias constantly. Similarly, mental accounting causes us to treat money differently depending on its source, spending a bonus freely while hesitating to spend salary on the same purchase. Awareness of these tendencies enables smarter financial and personal decisions. Even small decisions, what we buy, eat, or watch, are influenced by these biases. Companies, social media, and peers exploit them without us realizing. By slowing down, questioning assumptions, seeking opposing viewpoints, and tracking outcomes, we can begin making more deliberate and informed choices. Awareness of these biases transforms ordinary behavior into intentional action. Understanding cognitive biases also fosters empathy. Once we realize that everyone is influenced by invisible mental forces, it becomes easier to understand why others act irrationally or make mistakes. Behavior is rarely malicious, it's often shaped by unconscious patterns. Awareness improves patience, communication, and collaboration. Finally, practicing this awareness daily, evaluating our thinking, reflecting on decisions, and learning continuously allows us to make choices aligned with our goals. It turns the mind from a set of unconscious shortcuts into a deliberate tool for better decision-making. Mastering cognitive biases empowers you to see opportunities, avoid mistakes, make informed decisions, and take control of your life. Awareness doesn't eliminate mistakes completely, but it gives you the power to act thoughtfully, strategically, and confidently in every aspect of life.